HV11 Plus as we discuss round two with this major winter storm that continues to impact the natural state and a large part of the country. Before we dive into things, I just want to give you a reminder because we have this brand new feature on THV11 Plus, and that is live radar 24/7. All you have to do is go ahead and scan that QR code right there with your phone, and that will lead you directly to our live radar that will continuously go on for 24 hours, 7 days a week. And right now the radar is lighting up with several colors because we have so much going on as another round of a potpourri of precipitation makes its way into Arkansas. So we're not going to waste your time. We're going to jump into it right now. First of all, let's talk about the temperatures and the wind chill, because if you've been outside, it is brutal. We've got numbers into the teens. They really haven't budged much at all for today because that Arctic air straight from the frozen tundra of Canada continues to pour its way in from the northeast and east. We're at 14 here in Little Rock, but it feels like one above zero. It feels like below zero for you folks in Searcy. It feels like 4 in Arkadelphia with an air temperature of 16. It's 20 degrees in Texarkana, 20 in Fort Smith, and 10 degrees in Harrison. So you get the idea. Everybody is in the deep freeze for tonight, and this will continue to be the case over the next several days. We still have winter storm warnings in effect for most of Arkansas, with the exception of Columbia County, Union County, Ashley County, and Chico County. You're under an ice storm warning all the way through Sunday, because you're going to have the potential of seeing ice that's going to accrete or collect on trees, on power lines, and that could cause some power outages out there tonight and also into Sunday. There's a dangerous cold. We have this extreme cold warning. It used to be called a wind chill warning, but now the new terminology by the National Weather Service is known as an extreme cold warning. And the bottom line is we will have wind chills of 10 below zero to as low as 20 below zero. And this warning has been extended until Tuesday at noon. So we had that THV11 weather impact alert all the way really through Monday now. And it's just because of the extreme cold temperatures. The precipitation will start to wind down on Sunday. So once again, don't travel if you don't have to, because the roads, they're miserable. They are ice covered, they are snow covered, and they are going to stay that way probably all the way until Tuesday for many areas. Watching out for potential of icy trees, down power lines, where there is freezing rain. We'll get more into that ice forecast in the next few minutes. And also, hopefully, you are streaming water through all of your faucets, because freezing pipes and pipes bursting happens in this type of weather. Now, we've had a little bit of snow out there, quite a bit of sleet across the region, and here are all the reports coming in to the National Weather Service, and you see them really populating the map. Right up central Arkansas, snow, into northwest Arkansas now, and then there's the ice as expected. It was going to be pretty much south of Little Rock, but definitely into South Arkansas. Roger, can we go to Storm Track 11, because we're going to put some numbers on here, and you could take this full, please. So these are the same reports that came in to the National Weather Service, and we'll zoom in on some locations. This is over the past 12 hours. The big jackpot winner around Pulaski County, believe it or not, was the Little Rock office, the North Little Rock office, the National Weather Service, came in with around 7.8 inches. Now that's a combination of snow and also sleet. More of the same, 8 inches around Gibson. And then we only had 2 inches, I believe that's snow, Bryant. So it was a large variety all across central Arkansas, just because we were on that line of where it was sleeting to the south, but then you had a band of heavy snow develop last night right across Pulaski County and over the metro. Meanwhile, to the north, a lot of people are saying, what happened? We're not seeing any snow. Well, that's where round 2 comes into play. And when we go over to Max 1 now, we do have round 2 continue to spread its way in here from Oklahoma, from the Red River Valley of Texas. The blue that's where the computer is saying it's snow. It's not necessarily snow, although I'll get into why we're seeing snow out there right now in just one second. But the pink, that's where it's going to be more of a sleet, maybe some freezing rain happening. And when we take a look at the expanse of the system, it's still out into New Mexico. The upper level part of this system is out here. So this all has to make its way through our neck of the woods before things start to wind down. The snow's happening right now. See all this snow? Huge shield of snow into Oklahoma and Texas, and this is all aimed at northwest Arkansas and north Arkansas. So I know you feel like you missed out on round one, but round two is going to make up for that, and you will have several inches of snow tonight. The snow ratios are still very high, so it's not going to take much moisture to produce easily 5 to 10 inches of snow. Maybe someone gets a foot of snow out there tonight in that part of the state because the temperature profile in northwest Arkansas and north Arkansas is a snow profile. It is freezing from or freezing and below from the surface all the way up to the cloud level. Here in Central Arkansas, we have a complex scenario because we've been telling you that we had this layer of warm air, and that certainly is in place. That's why we had sleet out there last night across a large part of the region, but we've had snow out there today. And it's interesting because below the layer of warm air, the temperatures are so cold that snowflakes have been able to develop and produce this light snow across the region. That is somewhat of a curveball because a lot of us thought it would stay as sleet, but you have what's known as the dendritic growth zone, and it's a specific temperature range that snowflakes form, and we're experiencing that just above the surface. It's about 2,500 to 3,000 feet above the surface. The clouds are producing snowflakes, and they're beautiful snowflakes. If we can go over to Storm Track 11, because I went outside and I took a picture using my Android cell phone. These are your classic snowflakes that you cut out construction paper that you would see in a cartoon or a movie that you would think, okay, that is a 100% typical snowflake. That's known as a dendrite, and that's what we have flying out there tonight because of this special case, I guess you want to say. It's usually not this cold here in Arkansas when you're this close to the surface, but we have this phenomenon for this to happen. So if you have an opportunity, you check out the snowflakes, and if you have a good camera, put something black and that doesn't have any like threads or anything, because I tried on my gloves and it just didn't work as well. A very smooth surface, and see if you can get some pictures of snowflakes out there tonight. And if you do, send them in our direction, 501-376-1111, or you can go ahead and post them on my Facebook page. All right, let's go back over to Max. Thank you, Roger. And we'll take a closer look here on what's happening. We'll get into more detail to see what's happening with all of the different types of precipitation, and we can actually break it down. Now, this is the computer saying this, but if there is snow happening in this area of Logan County, Johnson County, Pope County, these are some pretty hefty bands of snow. And if that is happening, that's easily an inch of snow per hour. And I think that will be the case out there for northwest Arkansas, for the Ozarks, and also into north Arkansas. If this is sleet, that's going to add up significantly too. So let me see if I can go over and take a look at our other tool here. And I'm going to have to do this again with this place file folder. I'll have to do that again later. I used to have icons that showed up and would tell us exactly what type of precipitation is falling, but right now that option's not working on that computer. So we've got either heavy snow or really heavy sleet happening where all these brighter colors are occurring over the river valley up through the Ozarks, Stone County, Searcy County, Izard County, Cleburne County, and also Mountain Home. We've got a fire hose of moisture now making its way in. So it's either snow or sleet happening in those areas. And then we'll go over to our ice identifier. So this is the computer trying to pick out things and see, it's kind of, is this real? Is it not real? We just don't know. But it's saying that there's potential of some sleet happening in that area. A better chance of some sleet into southwest Arkansas, so Pike County, Montgomery County, also into parts of Hot Spring County, Garland County. This is all lifting its way off to the north and northeast, and this is all going to fill in. And then I think you're getting into more of a freezing rain situation where you're seeing this purple show up. So you see the purple there. So that's not good news, because when you get freezing rain, that's the type of precipitation that starts to collect on everything. All right, so let's talk about what you can expect for the rest of the night according to model information that we always show you, Future Radar. So this is the HER model, and I'm going to show you another model, and we'll just kind of compare things going through the overnight, because there's pretty good agreement, but it's not exact. So this is where we are right now, 8:30, and you can take a full Roger. Temperatures are into the teens, and we'll just advance this. So as we go through the overnight, the pink, that's telling us that this is going to be sleet. It's a sleet situation. It's not a snow situation until you get into northwest Arkansas. But then going through the overnight, the profile of the atmosphere starts to change. And now we are seeing the snow start to fill in little by little across northwest Arkansas. And this is heavy snow. Where all that blue is, especially the darker blue, that is some very heavy snow happening according to this model forecast. So that could easily put down, like I said, inch per hour, maybe more than that if you get a real good burst of snow. This is 3:30 tonight, or Sunday morning. And now we're at 5 o'clock in the morning. And still that sleet line versus snow line right through Russellville, just to the southeast of Clinton, Batesville. Meanwhile, here in central Arkansas, it's sleet. It's heavy sleet. And we could easily see another 1 to 3 inches of sleet across the region. Now, usually the ratio 1 inch of liquid is typically 1 or 2 inches of sleet. So that's what we're working with, because what the models are printing out for the overnight into Sunday morning, how much liquid we have to work with, is about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Sunday morning, when you wake up, 8 o'clock, this model says snow and heavy snow still happening into the Ouachitas, moving into Pulaski County, and also right along Conway, getting into Searcy, Batesville, tapering off to the west. But I do have some doubts about how strong this is, because if you notice behind me, you see those storms into Mississippi and Alabama? There's the potential of severe weather into southern parts of Alabama and the Florida Panhandle with this system, because they're in the warm sector of it. If that does happen, that can rob some of the moisture, and this band can be zapped and dry out sooner than expected. So that's what we'll have to watch out for, because the other model says that is going to be the case. So we'll see which one is right. Is the HER right? Because if that happens, we're going to get additional snow here in central Arkansas. And then it starts to wind down Sunday morning. We're done with accumulating snow probably about noon across the region. There still probably will be some flakes flying, but no more accumulating snow. And then it's just about the cold. Bitter cold, skies clear out, the temperatures come crashing down, especially if the winds start to go lighter. And with a fresh blanket of snow, we're talking about the numbers dipping down in the single digits and potentially below zero. The forecast here, Monday morning, we got a goose egg, Little Rock, 2 above, Hot Springs, below zero, Conway, Searcy, Russellville, and also Jonesboro. And I would think Clinton and Batesville would also be pretty close to below zero because you'll likely have a blanket of snow. So that's one model, and we'll get to the other model coming up a little bit later. Next thing we'll talk about, the road conditions. When can you get back out on the road and drive? The interstates did improve somewhat out there this afternoon looking at iDrive Arkansas. There were some lanes that were a little bit clear, but with round two, the State Department, all the salt truckers are going to have to go back and do what they just cleaned up, because it's all going to be covered once again. Tonight into tomorrow, temperatures are not going to climb above freezing. So I don't think the interstates are going to be in good shape, until we get into really Sunday evening maybe, but it may hold off until Monday morning, honestly. It just depends on how fast the system gets out of there and how fast they can get out there and clean it up. As for the main highways, probably not until Monday afternoon, Monday evening. It could take longer than that though, maybe Tuesday for some locations. And those side streets and back roads, honestly, Tuesday, Wednesday at the earliest. If it doesn't happen then, it may take all week, especially in those hilly areas and also the areas where there's a lot of shade and there's not much sun. Because the sun does help, and we are expecting the sunshine to return on Monday, which will help out significantly because the sun angle is a little bit stronger than what you would see, of course, in late December when it's pretty low on the horizon. We're going in the opposite direction now. The sun's getting higher and higher into the sky, so it's getting a little bit stronger each and every day. All right, here's what you can expect now for the rest of this storm system. Still looking at mostly heavy snow with some sleet possible into the Ozarks, northwest Arkansas, northeast Arkansas. And here in central Arkansas, Roger, you can take this full because there's a lot of wording on here. So central Arkansas, the pink area, we'll continue to see sleet. Still the potential of snow mixed in with the sleet because, like I said, there's that little layer in between about 2,500 to 5,000 feet that's continuing to produce some snow out there. The sleet moves in, will it take over, or will the snow still be mixed in? I think it's going to be a combination of both. Then going into late tonight, that's when it will start to change over to more of a snow starts to take over from the west moving to the east. Now you folks down into southeast Arkansas, that is a big concern because the potential of freezing rain, significant ice accretion, or basically a collection of ice on your trees, on your power lines, is really going up and has me more concerned that we're going to have some issues looking at more data. And then also your atmospheric profile just supports a better chance of freezing rain versus just staying all sleet. So that purple area, especially you folks in Drew County, DeShay County, also into Ashley, Chico, Bradley, Calhoun, maybe even Ouachita, Union, Cleveland, Lincoln counties. Don't be surprised if you wake up and the trees are weighted down by significant ice. So that is your what to expect. Now we'll break it down by each element. So your snowfall forecast, this is not additional. This is from what we've already received to what we are expecting. I'm not changing anything really. I mean, there was that narrow band right through central Arkansas that did produce 6-7 inches in North Little Rock in some isolated areas, but we told you it was going to be a sharp gradient, and that certainly has played out as you go from south of Little Rock all the way towards Faulkner County and then into Van Buren County. With this heavy snow developing, I still think there's potential of 10 to 15 inches of snow. If you get an inch of snow per hour that sits over a location, this can really add up into northwest Arkansas. So we'll still stick with the 6 to 12 overall. Once everything is said and done, that's what I'm looking at for Franklin County, Johnson County, northern parts of Pope County, all the way through Stone County, Izard County, Searcy County, and over towards Jonesboro. And Roger, you can take this full as well because there's just so much information. So go ahead and find your city on there or your county. And I really think Southeast Arkansas, you may see a flake, but you're not going to see any accumulating snowfall into Monticello or Camden or El Dorado, because once the air mass gets cold enough, the moisture is already out. So high snow totals, Northwest Arkansas, North Arkansas, and then they really continue to drop off once you get past Little Rock and down to the south and southeast. The big story continues to be the sleet, and maybe this is too conservative when it comes to the sleet total. We went with a broad range of 2 to 4 right through the heart of central Arkansas. There could be some locations that end up with 5 or even 6 inches of sleet. That is a possibility, but it's tough to measure what's happening out there right now, because before we did this stream, I went outside and the whole landscape has changed, because when you're walking on the snow-sleet combination, it starts to crack because it's starting to freeze, and that sleet has compacted the snow that we did see earlier last night. So it's dropping. I had about 3 inches of snow in Midtown, in Little Rock. I'd be curious to see if that has shrunk down to 2 because of that sleet compaction. And also, sleet, it's heavy, so if you try to shovel it, take a little bit at a time. Don't try to get a big clump of it, because that sleet and snow combination, it is pretty heavy and it can injure your back if you're not careful. The sleet really drops off once you get into southeast Arkansas because of the freezing rain expectation. And then, of course, the sleet, it's really made its way pretty close to Clinton and Batesville, looking at the radar, maybe a little bit north of that. But overall, trace to a ½ inch. Seems like it's working out pretty well. And then the ice forecast. Still going to go with a glaze to maybe as much as a 1/10 of an inch here in the light pink zone, which would be the Queen, Arkadelphia, Stuttgart, Little Rock Metro, maybe close to Hot Springs, and then over towards Hazen. And then you get into this brighter pink area into Pine Bluff, Dallas County, Lincoln County, Cleveland County, where it's going to be a 1/10 of an inch, maybe as much as a 1/4 inch of ice. Once you reach a 1/4 inch of ice or higher, that's when you have problems. I have a graphic on that coming up in just 1 second if I can find it real quick. And then the worst of the ice, we always said was going to be for Ashley, Chico, Deshay County, Drew County, and also into Bradley County. Let me see if I can find that graphic real quick. I have so many graphics here. Sometimes it's trying to search a needle in a haystack. Okay, I might have to just go ahead and do this on the content library real quick, and just give me 1 second. Because as I was putting the show together, I'm like, oh, you know, I should have had that graphic in, or because I know I had it in my show. Okay, let's see. There it is. Okay, here it is. So here is the ice accretion is the technical term, but we like to keep things simple. We'll just call it ice accumulation. So less than a 1/4 inch, slick roads, any little bit of freezing rain, even freezing drizzle, causes massive issues, especially at temperatures in the teens and 20s on bridges and overpasses, sidewalks. Everything becomes slick. So if we have a little bit of freezing rain, just watch out for that first step tomorrow morning if you have to go outside and maybe do some shoveling, because you could take a tumble. So light ice on the trees, you'll see that when you have less than a 1/4 inch. And then also you check out the leaves on plants, and you'll see it, and especially on your car windshield. That's also one of the first signs that you'll have a glaze of ice. But once we get to a 1/4 to a ½ inch, and we're talking about, it's not a nuisance anymore. It's disruptive. Tree limbs begin to sag. They begin to break, especially for Bradford pear trees, because they have weak branches in the first place, and your power outages start to go up. Then when you get above a ½ inch of ice. That's when it becomes really serious. That's when you have a nasty ice storm event, and that's when you have widespread outages, damage to trees, damage to roads. Those trees come down on homes. So hopefully we don't have that unfold out there for tonight, but that is a possibility once again for southeast Arkansas with those type of impacts. And I think it's more of a nuisance event here into central Arkansas when it comes to that potential of ice. All right, let's go now to another forecast model that we always show. This is our in-house model. It's known as the graph. It's a little bit different than what the HRRR was showing, if you remember. So we'll take a look at this. Overall, it's initializing pretty much the same. So once again, the pink, blue line well up into northwest Arkansas. That's where it's saying the snow's located, and advancing this through time. Here's midnight. That snow line slowly inches to the east and southeast, but this is heavy snow. This is really heavy snow happening across northwest Arkansas with these darker blues in the forecast. That's a bands of moderate to heavy snow. And by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock Sunday morning, look what happens to this one. Now, remember, the HRRR had a solid area of blue, saying it's going to be a shield of moderate to heavy snow approaching central Arkansas for Sunday morning. This model says it starts to break up because of the storms over into Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama are taking away that conveyor belt of moisture from the backside of this system. So there's still going to be some snow flying around Sunday morning, but what we'll have to watch out for is it a big shield of moderate to heavy snow still cruising its way through, or is it more scattered light to a pocket of maybe moderate snow? Because if you have that case, your accumulations for snow here in central Arkansas are not as significant compared to what the HRRR was saying. So here is 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. This still has a little band of snow moving through northwest Arkansas, and then starts to all lift out, and you might see a peak of sun off to the west, but it's still a chilly day. The temperature is not budging at all. Skies clear out tomorrow night, and the temperatures tumble down, and they continue to tumble down. So this model is saying by Monday morning that we'll drop down to the single digits, not below zero. This model, I think, is a little too warm. I think we will drop down closer to zero, but this model, I think, is maybe holding on to some wind. And if you have some wind around, that will keep the numbers up a little bit. Okay, so let's take a look now at the expanse of this storm, because it's a massive storm. We've got winter storm warnings still in effect from New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, the Carolinas, Atlanta, Georgia, under an ice storm warning, all the way up along the eastern seaboard into New England. So a lot of folks are contending with just a mess of winter weather this weekend, and a lot of meteorologists are not getting a weekend. They're all at work, just like Tom and I and Tracy and Simone are this weekend, to keep you informed. But it's all going to start to wind down slowly but surely. And you see this ice storm warnings extend all the way into Louisiana, Alexandria, Louisiana, under an ice storm warning. I mean, that's approaching Lafayette, Louisiana, with those winter weather alerts. And then here into Alabama, this is where the low pressure is developing, so that's pumping in warm air from the Gulf, and that's why Alabama misses out on the system. But then what's happening here into Georgia, you have high pressure up here that's pumping in Arctic air right along the eastern spine of the Appalachians, and that's reaching its way all the way down to Atlanta. That's shallow Arctic air, and that's why they have a big freezing rain situation that they'll have to contend with. But here in Arkansas, we're right on the edge of that freezing rain ice storm warning, but still it's going to be happening for southeast Arkansas. Low forecast for tomorrow morning. This is a model forecast, and that's our forecast for the metro. 15 degrees is what we're expecting. The numbers, I think, will be climbing tonight a little bit as that warmer air continues to slowly try to drop its way closer to the surface. Warmer, and it's not really that warm, but 12 in Searcy, 14 in Arkadelphia, 9 in Clinton. And then as we go into tomorrow night, here's our forecast going for a low of 3 at the Little Rock Airport, -1 for Clinton, 4 above in Searcy, 7 Arkadelphia. So that's why that extreme cold warning will continue to be in effect all the way through Tuesday, because Tuesday temperatures are still into the single digits. So we still have a long ways to go when it comes to extreme cold, and your body has not acclimated to this. You step outside, it is a stinging, piercing cold. You take off your glove for about 10 minutes and your hand starts to hurt. I can tell you that from firsthand experience when I was trying to take pictures of snowflakes, because you can't take a picture with your glove on. And there's Wednesday, still into the teens. Wind chill forecast. So we still have those winds out there. Sunday morning, feeling like 13, feeling like 0 in Clinton. It'll feel like 11 in Pine Bluff. And then going into Monday morning, just a little bit of wind. It's going to be just bitterly bone-chilling cold. Feeling like -18 in Harrison, feeling like 11 below in Fort Smith, and feeling like close to 0 all the way down into South Arkansas. Any warmer conditions on Tuesday? Nope. Still feels like below 0 for a majority of the state. And then even into Wednesday morning, the temperatures will be into the single digits with those wind chills. When are we going to get above freezing? Well, we'll show you the 7-day forecast here in the next 20 seconds. But here's your forecast for tonight as the computer loads. I feel like I need Jeopardy music. Da, 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 da. Okay, so tonight, roads, ice, snow covered, stay home unless you have to go to work. I know lots of people certainly comment and say, hey, I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse, or I work for emergency personnel. Yeah, we totally understand you have to be out there, but someone that just wants to go out just for the fun of it, not the best idea, especially if you're in a sports car. Saw that today, driving into work. Of course, the person was going to be stuck because sports cars are not meant to be driven in these type of conditions. Sleet changes back to snow. We'll go to the west and northwest for that happening. 15 the low, but temperatures will slowly climb through the overnight. And then Sunday, sleet may change over to snow here in central Arkansas before ending. 22 the high, and may see a peak of sun if we're lucky later in the day. We will stay below freezing all the way until Tuesday afternoon. 37. So we may squeak just above freezing. And this is for Little Rock. North Arkansas, northeast Arkansas, you may stay below freezing all the way through Tuesday and even Wednesday. Now, the big question is, if you don't get above freezing on Wednesday, we've got another shot of Arctic air moving in here later next week. You see the numbers going down. And there's some information saying these numbers are too high. We hadn't had time to really forecast this far out because we've been streaming and we've been looking at what's happening out there right now. But don't be surprised if these numbers drop significantly into the 20s with new forecast going into tomorrow. So that is everything I've covered there. Let's take a look now and see if we have any power outages happening on the Storm Track 11, if you could, Roger. And we do have some power outages adding up here into Deshay County. And you can take this full because I don't think our viewers can really see that too well. But we have 657 customers without power in Deshay County. And this is all thanks to Power Outage US. Polk County, 1,170 customers are without power. Sevier County, 452 customers are without power. And then Little River County, 816 customers are without power. So that's a terrible situation to be in, especially when it's so cold. If you have friends or family down there, you might want to give them a call, just make sure that everything is okay. And if you have friends or family in Southeast Arkansas, stay in touch with them, because if they lose power, you want to make sure that they're okay. They have blankets, they can get somewhere warm, because this type of cold can certainly be something that can be fatal if you're not taking the proper steps. Now we'll go over to iDrive Arkansas. I'll refresh this, and we'll take a little tour around the region with the cameras here. But there you see the latest. Lots of colors still on the map. So this basically says all the roads are snow covered or ice covered. From central Arkansas, it's pretty much snow covered. And then you get into ice covered through Jefferson County, Grant County, and down to southeast Arkansas, and then ice patches. And all those explanation points are accidents or disabled vehicles. So this one says it's a disabled stalled vehicle right here on westbound 440. And then we have a disabled vehicle or accident, Interstate 40. So let's see if we can take a look at some traffic cameras here and see if there's any huge backup happening. So, nope, not seeing anything there, but the interstate, not too many people are on there, so that's good. You can see the asphalt of the interstate, so there is some lane clearing there, but still it's just not smart to drive out there tonight, because with the new moisture moving in, road conditions will quickly go downhill if they're not already terrible. So this is Interstate 440. There's the interstate. You see like a little bit of a clearing of a lane, but then the exit ramps and the entrance ramps are terrible. So you don't want to slam on your brakes. You want to slowly hit your brakes, and keep that in mind as we go into the next few days. And if you have to go back to work, never slam on your brakes. You want to tap on the brakes. You don't want to go from interstate onto an exit ramp with too much speed and you hit snow or ice that's covering up the ramp, because that can lead to some big time issues. But definitely there's something happening there. As you see the lights, I see some more lights in the distance. Let's take a look what's happening here in Little Rock. We'll go to the River Bridge. Well, that's just a beautiful shot. Let's try this one. 9th Street. So there are some issues with the cameras because we're seeing the precipitation freeze on, looks like, the camera lenses. Let's see if we can go to 630. Okay, this is 630 Mississippi Avenue. Snow covered. And snow continues to fall. One lone car out there. And let's go to the River Bridge, this one, 430. So there's River Bridge 430, snow still flying. See some cars coming down from the hill, and that hill can be a challenge to go from North Little Rock to Little Rock using the 430 River Bridge. You really have to be extra cautious, and because you can stall out on that hill pretty easily when you're trying to go up it, if you're not in the right vehicle, or if your tires are terrible and they don't have a good tread on them. But there you see, looks like a snowplow there, and there's a few vehicles going through. Now we'll see if we can go down to Pine Bluff. I'm trying to think what cameras have some lights or some light to it. So this is, what is this? This is Interstate 530, Old Warren Road, exit 41. And not too much happening there. That's good news. We don't want people on the roads. And if you have to be on the road, just be smart. Have some cat litter with you, snacks, water, some food, just in case you get stranded, especially if you're traveling on the interstate, because that's worst case scenario for that to happen. All right, so this is the GR2. I was seeing if we had any other reports, seeing half-inch of ice. That's terrible for Sunflower County over in Mississippi. So the Mississippi Delta really getting pounded right now with the worst of the ice storm at this moment. So if you have friends or family in Mississippi, certainly keep them in your prayers, because they've got some rough weather to deal with the ice storm unfolding as of this hour, and we'll continue to see significant and crippling ice in that parts of the country, the Mississippi Delta, and then also bleeding its way into the Arkansas Delta. All right, so I have been going on here for about 40 minutes. I have pretty much covered, I think, everything that there is possibly to cover without geeking out too much. I could geek out a little bit if you wanted me to, just to explain how the atmosphere is working right now, and why we're seeing rain versus, or why we're seeing sleet versus snow versus freezing rain across the region. And we'll just pull this up because we always get this question. So we'll end with this graphic. So I've held off on geeking out too much on weather, but I can't resist anymore. I love to be educational and you know, you learn something out there for today. So if you've missed this, where have you been? You haven't been watching streaming. But here are the different ways we get sleet, snow, freezing rain, and of course, plain rain. So let's go with the easiest solution. Rain. Rain happens when you have the temperature above 32 degrees, from the cloud all the way down to the surface. On the opposite end of the spectrum, snow. Snow happens when you have temperatures from the cloud all the way to the surface, 32 degrees or lower. And once again, special case out there tonight, because your snow's forming like right about here at 25 to 5,000 feet above the surface and not so much higher in the cloud. The situation we have going on with this winter storm is we have a wedge of warm air. The winds about 6,000 to 10,000 feet are coming in from the south and southwest. That's bringing in warm air. At the surface, the winds are coming from the northeast. That's bringing in that Arctic air. Arctic air is shallow and it's heavier. So that warm air rides over that shallow layer of colder air. So we have snowflakes developing way up into the clouds. Those snowflakes melt, change to raindrops as they encounter that layer of warm air that I mentioned. But this layer of cold air that is below freezing or sub-freezing will change those raindrops into frozen raindrops, or what's known as sleet. And that is the situation we've got going on for tonight, because this layer of warm air is going to move back in, and as that moisture, or the layer of warm air is already there, as the moisture field moves back in higher into the atmosphere, that's why we'll have sleet. The freezing rain case is when you have the warm air that is much thicker and the shallow air is much thinner, so your snowflake melts, changes to a raindrop as it goes through that layer of warm air, and then it stays in the form of rain until it reaches the surface. And you can have freezing rain when it's in the 20s. You can have freezing rain when it's 32 degrees. As long as the temperature profile shows a big layer of warm air versus a very thin layer of sub-freezing air, you had that potential freezing rain, and that's what's going on into southeast Arkansas and South Arkansas for tonight. Before we go, thank you for sending in all your photos. We've got so many photos, and if you still want to send your photos or reports, we always love to get your reports of how much snow-sleet combination you have seen in your neighborhood. 501-376-1111. That is the best way to get those reports to us, because Chief Meteorologist Tom Brandon, I'm sure he wants more and more pictures. We told you it was going to be a dry snow. We told you this was not going to be the snow that you can make snowballs or snowman. It's pretty much very powdery. It's easy to brush off until the sleet moved in, and now it's a lot more difficult to get off your vehicle. So good luck with that. Stay warm, stay safe. Thanks for watching THV 11 Plus. And once again, before we go, we do have this reminder, in case you missed it at the top of the show, I'll give you another opportunity to go ahead and check out our live radar 24/7. And this is the QR code, so get out your cell phone. And Roger, you can take this full when it pops up here and just take a picture of the QR code right there where it says above Stream Now, and that will lead you directly to our live radar, and you can go ahead and track this winter storm as round 2 makes its way through Arkansas, bringing another big surge of heavy snow for north and northwest Arkansas, but here in central Arkansas, it's a sleet storm with maybe some snow on the backside, and then down into southeast Arkansas and South Arkansas. Unfortunately, it's not only just sleet, it's going to be more of that freezing rain combination. Chief Meteorologist Tom Brannon and Brooke and Rowley, they will be here on THV 11 at 10 o'clock, providing you with the latest updates on what's going on weather-wise with this major winter storm. Stay warm, stay safe. Thanks for watching. I'm meteorologist Nathan Scott. See you soon.